Today is Wednesday, November 17th. And this week we are pausing and taking the time to listen to what God would say to us about His desire and His intention to sanctify us. His will to sanctify us is clearly stated in 1 Thessalonians 4:3, that passage that we looked at last Sunday. Paul says, "For this is the will of God." This is the will of God, your sanctification. And sanctification means to be made holy, to be purified. And as we are progressively purified, we live more and more and more in harmony with God. And God's will for us is that we become unified with Him in all the areas of our life. And that's why He is shaping and molding and transforming us into the image of Christ. He wants us to be in harmony with Him 24/7, just like He is with His Son Jesus, where they live in harmony all the time. Now that's something to pause and think about. The Lord God Almighty, Creator, King of the universe, wants to live in harmony with you and with me. It's His will. And He doesn't just hope for it. He has chosen to do whatever it takes to make it happen. He has and will continue to move heaven and earth to make a way for us. He's put together a whole sequence of events and processes and provisions for us and for Himself to fulfill His desire. In Romans 8, Paul describes the process of sanctification with these words. "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good for those who love God, for those who are called according to His purpose. For those whom He foreknew, He also predetermined to become conformed to the image of His Son, so that Jesus would be the firstborn among many brethren." The brethren is you and me. "And these whom He predestined, He also called. And whom He called, He also justified. And those whom He justified, He also glorified." What shall we say to these things? What shall we say to these things? That's an invitation for us to just pause and think. To pause and let the Spirit just press into our soul how incredible God's will is for us. And then for us to say something in response. What shall we say to these things? Wow. Amazing. That's almost too incredible to comprehend. Or maybe that is so humbling. Paul's response to those thoughts was, if God is for us, who can be against us? So let's return to the passage one more time, and while you listen, be aware of any thought or emotion that forms in you, and then just express it to God. What will you say to these things? And we know that God causes all things to work together for good, for those who love God, for those who are called according to His purpose. For those whom He foreknew, He also predetermined to become conformed to the image of His Son, so that Jesus would be the firstborn among many brethren, you and me. And these whom He predestined, He also called. And whom He called, He also justified. And those whom He justified, He also glorified. What do you say to these things? Take the time to express that to God.